Hey everybody, this is Brett Ingram and this is the optYOUmize podcast, the show that helps entrepreneurs build their dream business and dream life. Today we're talking with Rich Kozak, founder and CEO of Rich Brands, best-selling author, certified global branding consultant. He has over 40 years of experience defining and launching brands. So he's going to be sharing with us some real branding secrets. So with that, welcome Rich and thanks for joining us.
Well, it's great to be here, Brett. And to the listener, it is not what you think. Okay. This is not a podcast about branding. This is a podcast about you and how we all get to, to take it to the highest level we can while we have a shot, so it's like, it's not about branding. It's about you as an individual. There you go.
And we're going to get into all that good stuff. I know you're going to be sharing some amazing tips and everything else. We're going to talk about impact brands. But let me start by asking you about your background. I'm fascinated by it. So what did you do to start your career? And what made you decide ultimately to focus on branding, as we're calling it?
Well, it's a great question. And I literally made notes of how I thought you were going to ask me that. I literally made notes because life is a journey and mine has been fairly long. I've got lots of decades behind me. I'm in my 47th year, both of defining and languaging brands and of being married, by the way. So it's a God
Congratulations. That's awesome.
47 years and 52 Valentine's days of marriage. So
wow.
I was always high energy. I was always running. My mother, who's from the South, said, well, you were always busy. But these yearnings, I would see something. Ooh, my dad left a little violin out. Oh, Daddy, I want to play violin. Well, you're going to have to learn piano for, hey, you can make a lot of money if you sold fireworks at your fourth grade. Great. Hey, can I just buy the chemicals and make my own? It's like, I would get, my dad said at 13, I said, I'm going to make some money. He goes, it's Pennsylvania. You need a work permit. You're 13. Hey, paint my house. So I learned how to paint houses. Next thing you know, 14, 15, I was hiring guys painting houses. So it's like I was kind of, a businessy, entrepreneurial from the beginning, but I didn't know what I wanted. If you asked me as a high school kid, hey, what do you want to be? I would change the subject. But if you said, what do you want to do? I would say, oh man, I want to do everything. I want to live outside the country. I want to at least speak different languages. I love food. I want to travel. It's like I was one of those people, right? And I was raised in a very uplifting, you can do it kind of household,
right.
Professors and musicians. So I often say when I talk about my wife and myself, she comes from a very practical household. Her dad was a chemist with the same company for years. I always say the king of passion married the queen of common sense. So it's a good marriage.
That's great. Yeah.
So when it came time, I picked college. I picked marketing because that seemed to be, from my, understanding, maybe close. And so I'm studying marketing, but I'm booking rock bands because it was one of my businesses in high school. And then a bunch of the people that were in like heavy duty rock band decided they were going to do a Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young kind of, I play violin and viola. I sing. I have a high Graham Nash kind of high voice. And they're like, hey, we want you in. So fourth year of college, I drop out to be in a rock band and travel the Eastern United States with this band called Morning Song. You can still hear the album on YouTube. Morning Song, Listen to Sunrise. Really good Billboard review, like knockout drops Billboard. And it was it was one of those yearnings, like we can do this. Put these, we can do this. Original music. Oh my gosh. So the idea of putting something together and giving an identity and naming it, I've been doing that for a long time.
Okay.
And that was before I, started my profession, right? Before I had any degrees or anything like that. So when I chose with a couple other guys, look, we don't really do this as a living. This is kind of crazy, and we've got more to offer than, just being out there singing the same songs, 256 performances in a year and a half. It's like, whoa, wow. Man, oh man. So I finished a degree in marketing, studied international business and graduate, and I went Fortune 50.
Okay.
And I'm not a corporate guy, but I was for 7 years, and I learned enough to say, I don't think I fit here.
Yeah.
So I do. So I'm in Southern California because I've been transferred here. And somebody says to me, hey, boy, you've been, being with the American Marketing Association, after hours, you created the international group in Los Angeles. Why don't you be the president? So when I resigned from my Fortune 50 company, I was the president, volunteer of the American Marketing Association in Southern California, Orange County and Los Angeles. And it was the 50th anniversary. I mean, I know this. So it's like, I think and we had this big thing, and I met all the marketing people in Los Angeles, brought them in to give them awards. And, and then somebody said, hey, why don't you work with my marketing research firm? So that was marketing research. I'm going to marketing research conferences studying multivariate statistical analysis and calling on marketing research managers. It's like, I didn't put that on my list. I was on my list. So, but with the Fortune 50 company, I was in industrial sales. And then they moved me to Los Angeles to work in a factory under a marketing guy. So I was a product manager. It's like all these pieces of marketing, product, price, promotion, distribution, all these pieces of marketing were like just coming to me.
And you're seeing it from every angle, yeah.
And then the fellow who was the president before me goes like, look, I run a high-tech ad agency. Like we call on all these different companies. It's business. I want you as my executive vice president. I'm like, at advertising, that's the one thing I have. He goes, get your butt over here. So I go over and I realize doing that is like running your own business. And he was my dear friend. So now I'm the executive vice president of a integrated marketing communications company where I can use I've always been fascinated by language. So when every phone call is a different industry, I've got adult ADHD. Oh, were you surprised? So it's like, whoa, it's the best job in the world. So it's like, focus. And so 17 and a half years later, we had partners in 21 countries certifying the principles in a really, really well thought out, research-based global branding consultant mindset and process. Okay. Mm-hmm. And I was doing all-nighters at 50 because I was addicted to my job. I'd come home from doing domestic stuff because we were in Los Angeles, but yet I had partners in Europe, and I would be emailing them, get home at 2 a.m, wake up my children, hey, daddy's home. Let's do a prayer. Dear God, thank you for teaching us that, we're only here for 2 reasons, to love each other and to praise you. Amen. Go back to sleep, boys, and then come in here and email my European partners and then get up early and, hey, I can sleep when I'm retired. Man, wow. Talk about not getting it right for a podcast about balancing life. It was like I had to make a rule that if my wife ever called, I would always take the call because I wasn't home.
Right.
And will mess up my relationship. The moment you'll dig this because you're who you are. One of the things we do at Rich Brands is to help clients conceive the strategic roadmap for the brand as it moves toward their purpose. And so I have a client who's just finishing chapter 13 where we of his second book, and the book is called The Power to Live Your Life, 7 Things to Not Interrupt. Okay, this is a wisdom book, okay?
Yeah.
It's like, look, here's how it works. There's a blind spot, like in a car, we're like, I didn't see that car. Yeah. There's a blind spot. So it's like, okay, if you're going to interrupt your physical fitness or your integrity or relationships that work or stewarding your savings future, if you're going to interrupt one of these 7 things, here's how it works. Here's the blind spot, oh yeah. And here's the rationale. And here's the strategy that turns the exception into the rule. It's like, is a really good book. It is a really good book. It
sounds really unique, yeah.
Yeah, anyway, so in doing that book with Frank, my client Frank, it reminds us that's the way it works. And I created the exception. I'm just going to stay late at the agency because then I don't have to come home in, 2 hours of traffic. I can cut the traffic down. Rationalizing not coming home. Thank God I'm married to a woman who, trusted me because guy works for a high-tech ad agency and stays out till 2 o'clock in the morning. Like, what? That's just crazy. So I have been blessed. And I get now to speak as somebody whom I think is one of the luckiest people in the world. I am doing so I quit. When I turned 50, I don't do branding anymore. And then individuals, look, I need your help with my personal brand. I'm like, I don't do that anymore. That's not true. Everybody uses your stuff. You know what? You sit down with us and you coach us on our business. Like, I mean, I never stop. You just don't charge for it. And of course, that was like, for an entrepreneur, I was like, I didn't like that. And I want to pay you money, So it's like, fine, 3 in a row, month 1, month 2, month 3. And the third was a huge coach with a book with Les Brown wrote the end. And she said, I'm handing you a client. I think you're the, and I look up and I'm like, Lord, branding? I just left that, But what the difference is when an individual, and now please hear this. I'm talking to you if you're listening to this. When you want to make impacts, you can see the impacts that you can make on others. Maybe it's on an individual, a type of it, or maybe it's on a type of an industry, or it doesn't matter. When you can see the impacts that you can make or are already making, and you want to do it on a bigger way through your work or your gift, or maybe it's a calling, the brand, how you say what you do, how you get credit for what makes you outstanding, what sets you apart, what makes other people go like, oh, wow, listen, I got to go, but can I have your card? Come alive instead of, oh, that's nice. And, I left my cigarette burning across the room and I don't smoke. It's like, there's a big difference between brands coming alive and falling flat. And most brands fall flat. And,
Yeah.
and so what I realize is helping people pull from their hearts the vision of how they can impact, how they clearly see impacting others when they thrive at what they do or see themselves doing. And then languaging that into a brand, you literally define and language the brand you must become to make those impacts. And everything your brand says and does after that aligns with those impacts. That is a God blessing, because what you do is you thrive the business from focusing on impacts instead of, what we normally say business focuses on. And you get to the abundance faster, but you build a platform that makes it much easier to step into why you're really here. And maybe it's not news to you, but I got to tell you, our businesses are not necessarily why God put us here. We get to figure that out, and we get to ask, doing this way, people say, well, I don't know, is that really branding? Whatever. Okay. It's a process. It's just steps.
Yeah.
And that's the relief for people. They think, they hear branding, get all intimidated. The world makes it sound trick and like you have to have, it's a process. I did it. Well, $14 billion companies, you got to show them. It's like steps, like building a factory. It's the same thing.
But I think it's super refreshing to know, I think just the knowledge that you can do something, from the heart, do something from your place of passion without needing to look at it the other way around. Because I think a lot of people have a passion for something that they're doing, but they've always been taught that branding is a mechanical thing that is artificial and supposed to be designed to, like, not trick, but manipulate people into buying and things. And I actually think it's a relief for people to realize you don't have to build a business that way.
I hear it a lot. I never thought of branding that way. I didn't realize. Yeah, absolutely.
And I mean, I'm curious from your perspective. I know, in talking to a lot of entrepreneurs, if I were to ask them, what do you think branding is? Many of them would say things like, well, a logo and a font and it's a color palette and you use them over and over again. So that way everybody can recognize your ads and your content and stuff. Why is branding so misunderstood? I mean, obviously it's more to it than just a color scheme.
I'm going to answer your question very succinctly, and then I'm going to make sure that that everyone who is listening to this podcast reframes how they understand branding, and I'll do it in 2 sentences. So first, the answer to the question, why do people misunderstand branding? Because most of the voices who use the word are selling marketing services. Well, this will be good for your branding. If you lit them on fire and made them write down what are the 4 things a brand must have to come alive and what's the process to get them, they're charcoal. Seriously. It's like people don't know because it's not taught, and they don't have to know to use the word. They
Right.
just know it's a buzzword, and so they use it as an attractant. Now let's talk about professional branding people that are, there's some that have background in, and I don't want to I'm not here to diss the industry at all. But if a person's background is highly design, which many branding people are, that's where they love, it's about creative. It's not about creative. It's about strategy. Okay. The creative follows the strategy, dude, seriously. So let's take the word brand and the word branding and get deep clarity immediately. Here it comes. Write this down. Your brand, and I'm talking to you, hear this. Your brand is a perception. Period. However, it's not your perception. It's the perception in the minds of those whom you most want to impact, those you most care about. Call it whatever you want, your target audiences, your constituencies. It might be others who share you with, but it's the perception in the mind of those whose lives you're going to bring value to, that you want to impact. And your job, so branding becomes, so the aha is it's not your perception. You can talk to me all day long about your brand. Oh, it's based on Greek mythology, whatever. Okay, I've heard it all. It's crazy. And you go like, stop. It doesn't matter what you think. It matters what they think. Okay, yeah. And so branding, from now on, when you think branding is you, all those things you or your team get to do to shape a consistent perception in the minds of your most important target audiences that moves your brand strategically in the direction it needs to go for you to make the impacts you want to make. That's branding. And it is a process. It's steps. Certain things need to be there. So this is not a teaching podcast, but I do want to share when I say there are 4 things that make a brand come alive. I'm not tricking you. There are. And you mentioned one of them. It's called recognizability, but it's number 4. And it's not just recognizability. Recognizability is also, oh, God, there's that stupid ad again. Okay.
I've said that before.
Positive, ongoing recognizability. First impression. And if done right, when done right, it creates an intangible brand promise that hooks the attention. So when you say the man speaking, I'll use Barry as one of my clients, and he has a background in brain training and adult stem cells, to manage aging. A brilliant guy and a wonderful, wonderful fellow. And one of his categories of expertise that he must get credit for to make his impacts early on is building a younger brain as we age. So in other words, it sounds like this. The man speaking at the Higher Level Life Conference next year is an expert at developing a younger brain as we age. What? Wait, I'm like, oh my God, I want to see that. Yeah, what is that? I want that. Okay, it's an intangible brand promise. You don't really know what it is, but you want it. It's like, listen, I'm doing this a long time. It's the difference between, oh, that's nice, and I gotta go, but can I have your card? It's a big difference. Okay,
Yeah.
so it's we get to create the perception, and so there are 4 things. The 4th is positive, ongoing recognizability.
Okay.
That means you bake a look and line and messaging hierarchy. Recognizability also is audio branding. It's the voice of the brand. It's what the brand says. It's how the brand says certain things. So I'll do these quickly, but only to pay off the fact that it's a process. Number 1 is congruence. The brand's got to be congruent with your heart, or you're going to have conflict. People sense it. They smell it. Number 2, consistency across the board. Inconsistency on a person's part prevents you from trusting them. You don't know what to expect. Brands are the same way. They say it one way, they say it another way, say it another way. It's like, well, what do you really do again? I don't. Oh well, inconsistency is a killer. It's a killer, and you don't just have to start again. Sometimes you have to restart. And people do it all the time. They hire third-party marketers that say like, just get me some leads.
Yeah.
Come on. Come on now. You do the math. Okay. It doesn't come out. It doesn't necessarily come out well unless you have defined in language to brand and you hand that to the marketers and you say, play within the lines. These are my message hierarchy. Number one is the most important. Number two, use them in priority order. This is the language of how we say to explain this thing. Here it is. Now use that. Now make some leads. That's different. But that's not what people do because they haven't taken the time. They haven't invested. They don't even know they can invest the time to define and language a brand so clearly that people feel the clarity and they don't even know why.
Right.
Because of the So congruence are the heart of the brand, consistency across the board. And here's kind of the magic bullet. It's unique language that transfers energy. And you heard an example with berries. Another one is, the woman speaking at the I don't know, let's give it at the Bodywork Conference of the Year next week is an expert at body intelligent yoga. Oh my God, I've been doing yoga for 10 years. What body?
Never heard of it before.
Right.
Fascinating. Yeah.
Okay. It is. And it's not. That was 3 English words that everybody knows put together in a way that you never heard them before. It's like, oh my gosh. So, and we have to realize this process doesn't come from outside. It comes from inside. So it comes from people's hearts. We don't make this stuff up. We listen to heart. We talk to people and listen to what they, a woman who's a PhD in chemistry gets fired from a job where she's a star because somebody says, she's not working out. He got fired. But she decides, okay, I'm just going to reinvent myself. And now she has a book out on reinvention. It's like, well, all righty then. Okay, we're working on, okay. It's like you get to pull out of your heart what you can see doing and then turn it into a magnet.
It's funny that you share that because I actually have a quick little story about a job that I had. I had an aha moment about that very thing in terms of passion and coming from inside you. I was in the staffing industry when I was younger. And, I was okay at it because I'm personable enough and, I could learn the rebuttals and I knew, I could figure out the industry. It wasn't hard to decode. So I was okay at it, but I was never the best. And I remember I came into the office one morning and our boss, she was the owner, was in there and she had been in, lights were still off. She had been in there for God knows how long in the morning. And so she comes out of her office and she said, I got to tell you the story. So I was on the phone last night and I had this candidate and, I've got this job and I know it's the right thing. And I had to talk to her for 2 hours because I think she's making a mistake staying where she was. Every single thing she was saying to me, she was just exuding passion about this. And the word money never came into it. She wasn't talking about the fee she was going to get. She wasn't talking about how much. It had nothing to do with that. She genuinely believed that this woman's career was going to be better with this other job and was so committed and passionate about it that she stayed 2 extra hours to talk to her at night to try to talk her through the whole process. And at that moment, I realized I was in the wrong place because I said, I like what I do and I can functionally go through the steps. I can't compete with that because if I'm not that, that's my competition. She loves this and would do it for free. I was doing it for a paycheck. And so I think, to your point, while that's not really a branding specific example, the idea of having that thing that comes from within inside you that tells you you're in the right place doing the right thing because you just feel it in that way, I think is really powerful.
You're right. It is really powerful. And let's just say, I don't want to be Debbie Downer, but unfortunately, even when that exists, people get the branding things confused because they think it's one thing when really it could be another. Here's an excellent example. I can't name names. I was at a conference called the Best You Expo in March of 2023. I launched Rich Brands there after shaping brands and pushing them out. I was living on Someday Isle. Someday Isle. Someday Isle.
We've all lived there at some point. Yeah.
Yeah, what I teach. It's like, oh, thank you very much. How are you, died? Yes, come on. And 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 so I launched it, and there was a coach woman. I guess she was a coach who was wearing a superhero costume. She had boots that had like lightning bolts on them, and a brassiere that was like crazy. It's just kind of her version of Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
She bought two booths and had this gigantic backdrop, making her look like something from another planet. Are you freaking kidding me? Okay, so like, first of all, who is she really?
To it? Yeah.
First of all, who is she really?
Yeah.
And maybe that's coming across, but the point is, it's like, is there tricks going on here? It's like, I mean, life. Okay, sorry, a judgment is above my pay grade, but that's an example of people getting the branding, thinking that slapping something on you from outside is what it is.
Trying to be clever.
And
Yeah.
it might just reinforce disingenuousness or plant a seed of doubt that you're being authentic. It's like, unless you're authentically a superhero, it's like, good luck with that.
So with the brand, I have to ask this because I know there's confusion around this. Personal branding, company branding. I'm an entrepreneur, right? So I've got me, but then I also have my business, which has a brand name.
Right.
Are those two ultimately joined somehow? Should I focus on one or the other? How exactly does that all come together?
These are very common thoughts and very excellent questions, and a very simple answer. When there's an individual, you're an individual. You're a dad, you play cello, you speak Italian, you've been married for 47 years and 52 Valentine's days. You played in a rock band in the 70s. It's like you're the individual, but you're the founder of a company who helps people step into their purpose. So that's the link, and you're there. Maybe you're the voice of the company, and for a certain reason, but you're also an individual. So there are two things there. You can go and speak as an individual. I'm on podcasts talk about fathering. I'm on podcasts talking about my faith. I'm on podcasts talking about branding. And sometimes they cross, branding, the process and the steps and the thing. Wow. And then when does branding become God's work? Wait a minute. What? Yeah. So it's like, but they're always interconnected. So example, I have a woman named Janet, a client named Janet, who is the architect of building character and confidence in young children and teenagers.
Nice.
30 years a teacher, and then highly motivated by the national standards for building character excellence in schools. And she put together curriculum for parents to use at home in minutes a day. Brilliant. And she's retired. She's not retired. She is stepping into major purpose. And she thought she could just, help some parents. We've shaped a brand that can literally rebuild character and humanity.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Who does she work for? Same God I do. It's like, but she's Janet, the founder, teacher, mom, single mom for several years and had to count on other people to help build character in kids. And then she got remarried. What a blessing. Now she has grandchildren. But she's also the visionary founder of a brand that can literally reshape character and humanity. It's like, it's okay. The opportunity in brand is to connect those dots.
Okay.
So that instead of And instead of people saying like, well, wait a minute, so are you, they go, oh yeah, that makes sense. Here's another big one. Since I'm talking to every individual here, you are you, and there's no one like you, which means not only there's what you do, like let's say you're really good at something. We'll use an example. Dr. Mort Orman wrote a book in 1992 called The 14-Day Stress Cure. That made him the stress guy. He literally documented how to use root cause medicine, what gave you the stress. Because he'll tell you there's no such thing as stress. He wrote the book. He wrote the in 1992.
Wow.
So and he's been curing people of stress. He's not the cure. Eliminating stress from people's lives using root causes. Well, you see, this comes from no root cause, no stress, no anger. Okay, for 40 years, I hear him speak. He's so frustrated. And this is to a point. The point is the umbrella. You have an umbrella brand. That's the point. So I want to make that point. Sorry, I was getting caught in the story.
Okay.
You have an umbrella brand. So
we all are.
I heard him speak, and he was so frustrated. He had 23 books, all on pieces of stress and process of stress. He said, I'm about ready to write a book called Stress, the Bullshit Epidemic, because there's a multi-billion-dollar industry that deals with treating symptoms.
Yeah.
Stress, not healing,
Right.
not eliminating. Right. And he's been eliminating it for 40 years. It's like, hey, it's like a voice in the wilderness. It's like, like John the Baptist, it's like, so he's, and we talk, well, when he gets done brand accelerator mastery and we hear his heart for what he wants to do, can do, he ends up being the founder of the Orman Institute for Life Mastery, teaching the process and skills of life mastery to kids in schools for generations. Where did that come from? Okay, so here's the deal. You have an umbrella brand. You probably are focused on one of the spokes of it. Okay, you're a podcaster. Wow, you're like a podcast. You're more than that. You got an umbrella. Question is, what is the umbrella? That umbrella represents probably your highest level impacts, your most significant contribution that you are here for. Languaged and articulated. And those spokes, the cello, the travel, the rock band, they all fit.
Yeah.
Now that there's an umbrella, what is the umbrella? Come on, people. Look, ask yourself. I'm just saying, like, there's another level. And if we all get at our, we're doing what we're doing. But we all get the opportunity to make the most significant impact on those whose lives we touch while we're here. And I just implore you to give that a little mind time. It alone will help with the purpose of this podcast, which is balancing the work and the life. I am one of those, I just feel so special that I know I am doing exactly what my journey prepared me to do. And it does not feel like work. If you saw my schedule today, Monday is my big one. I think I have 9 clients, and then I do a masterclass at 5, a live masterclass. It doesn't feel like work. It feels like love the whole time. And when work feels like love, you're getting real close to your purpose.
Yeah.
That's
awesome.
And awesome. It is possible. And it's possible for every one of us. It doesn't matter what your journey's been. You might have struggled with drug abuse or something else that was traumatic, or loss of function, or I have clients who run programs on baseball fields and hockey rinks for kids who don't have legs or arms, or they're born with kids are just, they learn that they can do things that they haven't been allowed to do. It is so amazing. What a gifted nonprofit. It's called pulling each other along foundation. Oh my gosh, whatever's in your heart.
Yeah.
You might be really good at fly tying for fly fishing. You can teach people on that on Zoom and make a ton of money, but it's not about the fly fishing. It's about the umbrella.
Yeah.
And you can touch people with the umbrella and thrive at fly fishing too. That's not different. That's not easy to say.
Right. Yeah. That's almost like a tongue twister.
Yeah.
So let's say I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a speaker. I'm a coach. Maybe I'm an author, something like that.
Yeah.
And I get what you're saying. I want to be able to build this brand. How do I define that? Like, how do I get to that purpose and figure out where I'm supposed to take this?
It's a great question. It's already in you, and the steps there. The book comes out. We don't have a date this year, but the book comes out this year. It's called Impact Driven Branding: 7 Steps to Ensure Your Brand Impacts Lives and the World. And it's steps. I'll tell you step 1 just to get you going to answer your question. But if you email me, just rich@richbrands.org and say blueprint, I'll send you the 7 steps in 8 pages that named on the first page, and then each page is kind of takes you into step with me talking to you, and it'll help a little bit. But the first step is close your eyes and ask your heart, whom do you clearly see impacting when you thrive at what you are already doing or you want to do? Think about thrive, not like you. If you're not thriving right now, think about like when everything you're doing is working. So you're speaking. When you create a program, people come to it. When you write a book, people say it changed my life. Everything you're doing is working. So go there. Whom does your heart bring you first that you know you can impact and you really want to? Describe
Awesome.
that person. And then describe the levels of impact that you clearly see on them. Ooh, they rethink who they are. They reframe their understanding of sometimes it starts mentally, and then it's like they learn you teach them a new skill set, and now they apply the skill set. Now they get new results, and now they take the results and they share it with other people, and now they contribute to the community, and now they become what are the highest level impacts starting with for that person? That's the beginning. And here's why. Clarity is the missing piece that prevents brands from coming alive. And there are 2 kinds of clarity. And wait, write this down. I'm not kidding. It's like, this is like a free master class. Wait, the first is those people, your internal clarity inside the brand, okay, of those people you clearly see impacting and the impacts you clearly see making on them. You don't have to write down 20. It doesn't take many. When you define in language a brand based on a handful, the clarity that you bake into the brand, people feel it. There's something different about the way. Yeah, that's where the clarity comes. The second clarity that's missing for most brands, and this is travesty, but they haven't done the work, so they can't be consistent in the way they do this clarity. And that clarity is this: when you are talking to someone whose life you can impact. And it could be, like I said, an industry. It could be, a type of business or an individual. Most of those people you describe, coaches, experts, they're after an individual. But still,
Right.
An expert could be after an industry. I'm going to have a client who integrates software to turn companies into an intelligent enterprise. He's really targeting the CEO and the CFO because they're the decision makers and the gatekeepers. But the first person that creates that in an industry changes the nature of competition. So I've been doing this a long, long time, by the way. But anyway, so that process and that enables you to do this. When you look at them and you say, I've listened to everything that you've said about your journey, where you are right now and what you do and what you can see doing. Here's what I see for you. Here's what we see for you. So building kids who care, building architects of character and confidence when they say, hey, parents, here's what we see for you and your family. When people hear that, their antenna go, whoop.
Yeah.
The
It's true.
words that come after that
Mm-hmm.
are either magnets or you have blown it. All right? That's the missing clarity. How you paint the picture of what you see for them when they let the brand in. And that's
That's
using brand language, sorry, but that
yeah. No, that's powerful. That's great. I mean,
those two things
yeah.
are often missing. And so putting them in place enables an individual to do the rest of the steps with clarity, and everything is congruent and everything aligns. Everything the brand says and does after that, after things get defined in language, aligns with those impacts. Where do you think you're going to get faster? It's like, so yeah, just know that it happens every day. It's a process. It's not trick, and it comes from inside you. So you are actually plugging into your own authenticity, your own self. And we're all made by the same creator. You're here for a reason. You're plugging into that too.
So, so a question now. Let's just, from a practical standpoint, let's say I'm a business owner and I'm listening to what you're saying, and
Yeah.
the message resonates. I love it and all that other stuff. But I'm also thinking to myself, well, geez, but I got bills to pay. I got to be able to make sales. How do I like just focus on like should I just be focusing on generating leads and sales while I'm trying to figure this out in the other in the background, or how do I keep the engine moving while I'm trying to transition into something that I think is more aligned with really creating that right brand? Because I think for a lot of people they see a disconnect between the rubber meeting the road with sales, leads, and actual like numbers, and the idea of branding being more of a like top of the head type, okay, I'm carving out this mental space in people's minds, but how does that all intersect?
Well, it's a very, very real mindset that is very, very common. Once people realize there's a different way and there's a better way, that's a very natural place to go. And so thank you for taking us there. They will eventually absolutely converge. So let me give you the hope. Here's the hope picture. Ready? Your mark. Well, first I have to define. We know what a brand is. It's the perception. And branding is you creating a consistent, it's the process. It's what you do to shape that consistent perception in the minds that you care about. So we know that. What is marketing? Write this down. Your marketing when it is at its best is the execution of an excellent branding strategy. That's what it is. So marketing is like, we say, product, price, promotion, and pathways, right? The 4 Ps, all the aspects. There's all of these aspects of marketing, and there are always new media, but the process of marketing is always the same. Thing is, you can't afford to do all the marketing execution elements. Nobody can. Big companies can't. You have to select what marketing elements will get you the best return on your investment in time and money. They are to execute an excellent branding strategy. So if you get to stand apart, let's say you're a coach or an expert and and you're in a very busy industry, let me name a few, because I have a client who runs a bookkeeping company.
Okay.
There's one in every corner. Life coaches. Oh my God. Financial advisors. How many of those are there, right? And we can take the financial advisor, probably the phenomenal example, but even CEO coaches. When there's a busyness in your space, the question your branding gets to answer is why you. You know
Okay.
that. That's
Yes.
not new. It's
Yeah.
why you. And so it's getting credit for what makes you outstanding in a way that there is no competition, because nobody else is you. This is real. Okay. And so So you're a financial advisor, and you have a special way for people who have a lot of disposable cash. They have big jobs, or they're in a business, and they're too busy and they don't want to hand the money to somebody on Wall Street because they don't think it's going to come back. So they hang on to it and put it in a savings account. They do stupid, but they're like, man, and they want to retire. They have dreams, but they're busy. And so your name is Frank, and you're at this conference, and you have the job. Frank is, and you have a beautiful tie on. You get in the elevator, and somebody goes, "Hey, Frank, nice tie. What do you do?" And you say, "Well, for years I served as a financial advisor, but you know how many of those there are." Well, I decided I wanted to help people at a much higher level, particularly committed savers. And I created my own company, a special company called Safe Savings Options, using your money's power. And today I serve as a saver's wealth advocate. Does that help? What the heck? Okay, did you feel it? It's
Yeah.
a stream of intangible brand promises
Yeah.
created perfectly to trigger the care about thoughts of the target audience that I described.
And yet you're doing it in the space of a commodity based industry where, right, if you hear the word financial advisor, the immediate sort of reaction people have is, whoa, let me
Yeah,
get off the elevator. I don't want to get pitched on anything.
yeah.
And so it's a completely different mindset and reaction based on that.
Yeah,
That's really
well,
powerful.
I work for insurance. No, it's not his situation, but I work for an insurance company that helps you, just um, uh, buy term and invest the rest in the stock market, so you can end up with really good. It just leaves people cold,
Yeah.
and it's not about them.
Right.
That much of that industry is trained to be about the sellers of services,
Right.
not about what's good for you, unless they literally take being a fiduciary realistically and only do what's in your best interest. But even then, not everyone is educators, and not everyone does business with a servant's heart.
Right.
And this fellow does. He does prison ministry 6 nights a month. When I learned
Wow.
that, and then when I met him, I was like, okay, there's something different here. But he's a financial advisor. But you've got to create that perception.
Yeah.
There's
That-
something different about this person. I want to hear more.
yeah.
There you go.
That's
Welcome
awesome.
to The Door is Open. So, can that happen in your marketing? Yeah. At the end of brand development, we do a message. Matter of fact, I do a half-day event. And at the end of the half-day event, I always do 2 trainings. One is on logos and taglines. People do really stupid stuff. And I mean logos for a program, logos for a product, logos for a book, logos for a whole, brand. It's okay. Logos and taglines, they messed it up. They make stupid mistakes that hurt them. They don't know. And message hierarchy. What messages in what order will have the biggest impact on shaping how people see you and letting the brand in?
Makes
It's like,
sense.
wow. Okay. Anyway, so that's every month we do that. It's called Branding You with Impact, and it's on richbrands.org. Just scroll down until it says special half day event, Branding You with Impact. Get your butt into the half day and take advantage of those 2 trainings. It's like, wow. It's worth 100 times what you pay for it at $97. It's a really, really good, reframe how you think about branding you and what it means to define and language your brand. What happens when you do, and what happens when you don't. It'll change your life. It'll be a blessing for your life and your business. So, um,
So
yeah, sorry.
yeah. So if we want to build an impact brand, I know you have videos, you have books, you do private consultations. Also,
Mhm.
where can we find you to get your stuff and to connect with you?
Yeah, it's funny. Thank you. It's richbrands.org. Rich Brands, RICHBRANDS.org. Okay, that's it. That's the website. You can scroll down. We put everything on the homepage. We do a 1-day event with a bonus day now. We do a half day. We do And what we don't say there is we do brand accelerator mastery, which is like, it's a 3-month program that only uses 7 days in 3 months. And at the end of 3 months, your brand is totally you, most comfortable pair of shoes you've ever had, defined and languaged, categories of expertise, characteristics prioritized that you must get credit for on first impression, titles and subtitles of content in 3 categories of expertise that will take you out 3 or 4 years. It is work that you don't think anybody does. And it's done in 3 months. It's like,
Wow.
Okay. Anyway, so, you won't find that on the website, but because it would just scare you away once you realize, oh my gosh, I get this. Yeah, you might not scare yourself away. You will say, like, I think I found it. So, yeah, and when you go to the website, it says 2 things. It says talk to Rich for 30 minutes. It's free. People joke with me. They go, "You've been doing this for 47 years, going on 48 next year. 47 years. Man, you should be on a yacht or on a beach." You know where I am? I'm on Zoom.
Yeah. Hey, and it's been
I'm on
great.
Zoom in love. I wouldn't be in love on a beach. I'd be going like, what do I do on this beach?
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. You do have to do the things that you're passionate about and that you love. So,
Except to honor your balance.
yeah.
I fly tomorrow to Maui for a
nice.
renewal and longevity retreat with my wife.
Awesome.
We do 2 this year. One's in January, one now. For that very reason.
Yeah.
Longevity is something we are now baking into our brand. We say today at Rich Brands, we evolve, because you must evolve your brand to get it to the next level. You must.
Yeah.
We evolve individual brands with deep clarity, energetic longevity. In other words, you get to do what brings you love and brings you joy for more decades. Praise God. Are you kidding me? What's life about? And divine purpose. Branding?
Awesome.
Yeah. Anyway, so but it's
it
a
is
little
funny
plug,
how you
little plug for
branding
balance
on its head. Yeah.
I had to get the plug for balance, and like, this guy's not balanced. All he talks about is no, we're good.
Yeah, no, totally get that. So
I'm
listen,
also
we
an
really appreciate
organic
you.
gardener. Okay.
Are you
So in other
really?
words, if I have 15 minutes between now and my next, I might go down to my garden and see what grew overnight. I'm an organic chef. I cook and everything. So it's like, here at the
Nice.
Brand Ranch, if you drive here, I don't charge you, because and you'll never leave hungry. It's like, we've built a lot of balance into the environment of our life, and
That's brilliant. Yeah,
you
it's
stay
a great
plugged
way
into
to
things
live.
that bring you joy and things that are worthy. Like, just as in the book I read every morning, focus on these things. Focus on the worthy things. We all have it baked into us. We're here for a reason. You get to focus on those worthy things, and your life goes to another dimension. What a blessing.
That's awesome. All right, so my last question, we're just about time to wrap it up, but I have to ask you this. I ask this to everybody. So what is your number 1 tip for success as a business owner or an entrepreneur?
Speak from your heart. Don't kid around. No superhero stuff. Speak from your... Sorry.
I'll sell the costume.
Yeah, sell the costume now. Well, I'll keep it for Halloween or whatever. But
True.
speak from your heart. When people know you care, it's the beginning. Those empathetic listening, a caring heart. This is, I heard what you said. This is what I see for you. That heart, when you're connected to somebody else's heart, to their dreams, like Frank and the financial, he connects with people what they want in life and helps them know they can get it because he cares.
Yeah.
Even he cares that they connect to spirit. He cares that they do something when they're in jail that's worthy. It's like, anyway, but when they feel that, then they feel it's from your heart and it's genuine. And I don't mean you don't have to try to be genuine. Just speak from your heart. And worst case is they bounce off, but they're not your tribe. They weren't your people. It's okay. Right. Not everybody doesn't have to like you. It's not about liking you anyway. I guess it was somebody, I think it was Schuler, who said, you are what you think people think you are, or something like that. It was kind of a mind bender. Get over it. Tear off the rear view mirror.
Yeah.
Airplanes don't have a rear view mirror. They just go forward. So it's like, let's put ourselves in forward and let our journey be, what formed us, but realize that our journey is not we. It was a predicate nominative. My mother's an English teacher. Our journey is not us, but nobody talks like, nobody.
Yeah,
So,
I
anyway, our
understand.
journey is not us. It has shaped us, but it doesn't define us. Adversity doesn't define us unless we let it. Adversity is here to strengthen us. We're not given anything we can't handle. So it's like we get to just keep moving and build on what we have and maybe stand on the shoulders of giants.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, with that, it's just about time to wrap things up. I want to thank you again, Rich, so much for sharing all your insights and great tips with us. Go to richbrands.org to get free videos about branding, get Rich's books, or book a call with him to talk about your vision challenges and the brand that you can become. Thanks a lot for tuning in. And as always, remember, no matter what you want from your business and your life, don't compromise. optYOUmize.